Let's get rolling.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to season 2. I had to make a note, episode 26 of Baseline Talk Tuesday. We are right here every week at 1 o'clock live on Zoom. And if you're joining us for the first time, you can catch all the previous episodes on YouTube. The Baseline channel is Baseline Web Training, all one word, Baseline Web Training on YouTube. All the previous episodes are as well as a lot of other how-to content and information that you can use to either troubleshoot your system or learn how to program or learn more about Baseline. So head over to YouTube, bookmark it so you can have easy access on your computer or your phone, and hope we can keep producing awesome content for you. So topic for today is twofold. One, we're going to quickly review the Hydropoint new website, which Baseline is a part of the Hydropoint new website. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to go roll over and discuss some new development that's in the works for BaseManager that only you guys are going to know about.
Nice. That's right.
Let's do quick intros. I'm Andy Humphrey, Irrigation Technology Consultant. We have Dan Conger, our Training Manager, Chris Wright, the VP of Sales, and Chris is going to lead us off today.
Right on.
Awesome. Very good. So let's talk about the newly released or new to the Internet of Things Baseline website. We kind of previewed it a couple of weeks ago when it was fresh, hot off the press, just activated or uploaded for viewership. And we went through some of the things that would relate to support. And how you can use the new website as a resource and a tool to help you in your support needs to get information that you may need in order to understand how Baseline technology works or how to troubleshoot something. And I think the major thing that we were linking to in that was the Baseline knowledge base.
Right.
And in that Baseline knowledge base, there are all of the Tech Talk Tuesday episodes that have been recorded, as well as a bunch of additional content that Dan has worked so hard on over the last several months recording that address troubleshooting and how to interpret messages that come up on the controller, and ask the trainer content as well. So there's a huge and growing library of content that exists there to reference to help you in your troubleshooting. So, but today we want to kind of speak at a bit of a higher level as to what the Hydropoint.com website includes and how you can drill into specific Baseline content through the Hydropoint website as a whole. So I'm going to share my screen, and we do have Meg Mason, who is the VP of Marketing for Hydropoint, joining us today. And through her hard work and input from Andy and I on the Baseline side, she put together a great website that has a lot of great information. So one of the most frequently asked questions that we get in the field is, since the acquisition of Baseline by Hydropoint, which is now 5 or 6 years strong, right? We often get the question of is Baseline Hydropoint, and what's the difference between Baseline and WeatherTrack and other Hydropoint offerings? So, Baseline is a subsidiary of Hydropoint and is a product line within the Hydropoint organization that has a suite of products that are focused on water management technologies, right? So as a whole, Hydropoint has not only Baseline, but also WeatherTrack and also Water Compass, right? So there's 3 different brands within the Hydropoint organization. And if you go to hydropoint.com, you will get a strong overview of what the Hydropoint organization is. And the content on the Hydropoint page is intended for those that are interested in Hydropoint as a whole and what we're doing in water management space, both in outdoor water management and or indoor water management monitoring to help clients save water on their properties. Okay. So once you go from Hydropoint into the different brands, WeatherTrack, Baseline, Water Compass, then that will drill you into specific content relating to each brand and the products associated with them, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the other common questions we get is, what's the difference between WeatherTrack and Baseline? And I think if you go to the homepage for each one of those brands, it very clearly identifies the focus of each one of those brands in our space. So if we were to first go to WeatherTrack, right? Let that load. Right on the homepage, the header for the page is a portfolio-wide smart irrigation management suite and taking weather and data to remote management, right? So I think that succinctly talks to the space that WeatherTrack pursues in our markets, right? Portfolio-wide means that, you know, they're looking at enterprise type customers, whether that be, you know, clients that have multiple sites across a large geographical area, even nationwide, or a municipality that may have, you know, a portfolio of network controllers that they're using to manage water, right? So if we were to look at the homepage and what we will speak to as it relates to Baseline, I think it beautifully illustrates what we pursue as regional managers and as a company as we're bringing solutions to market. And Baseline is engineered irrigation solutions using our proprietary two-wire technology and real-time sensor data to enhance system performance. Okay, so Andy, yep. You were involved in, you know, this content creation. Explain to, you know, those that are participating how difficult it was and how time-consuming it was for us to really boil down what Baseline does into a very succinct sentence that explains what we do.
Yeah, and the difficulty is trying to tell someone what you do in one sentence or two sentences, right? But with that difficulty comes the opportunity, because you should be able to tell someone what you do with one sentence. And so you wouldn't believe it, but Chris and I, this is just one of the examples, but we spent hours, you know, not just thinking, but writing, making lists, writing it down, editing, going back and forth to try to clarify, you know, what we do in as simple form as possible. And really, you know, we like to think of ourselves as an engineered solution, because you typically don't just buy a Baseline controller, hang it up, and kind of push an easy button and walk away. That would be more like a residential smart controller, but it's not a Baseline controller, right? A Baseline controller, we're really digging into a project. We're wanting to know, what are the problems on that site that we can solve? How do we use our tools available to engineer that solution for that specific site? And engineering doesn't really mean building new boards and such. It means looking at all of our capabilities of all of our products in the suite and figuring out how to put those products together in such a way where it provides the solution that the customer is looking for. But in order to do that, you sort of have to understand all of the capabilities that are possible and how we do what we do in order to put them together and make that recipe for success.
Yep. And it all comes down to our ability to use sensor-based algorithms in our controller platforms in order to manage how the water gets applied to a site. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And again, there's specific keywords like algorithm, right? The way that the 3200 controller does what it does is not just running things logically in order. It is making its own real-time decisions based on sensor information to change its programming in real time based on those inputs with an algorithm, right? There's an algorithm there. So we decide that we need to start talking about that.
That's right. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And with the sensor-based controller platforms and the different products that make that possible, if we go into view products, it will highlight those different controller platforms that the sensors interface with, the management software that is used to interface with it, either on site or remotely,
Mm-hmm.
the sensors that we provide that make the system smart or intelligent, provide that real-time data to the controller platforms, and then different devices and accessories that complement the technology that, again, are intended to help increase the performance of that system.
Yep. And again, it's really about engineering that solution using the sensors, because if you take the sensors away, there may be some need for a baseline system, but there's less need. We really want to put those sensors out in play so that our algorithm that we built can do what it can do using those devices to make it all possible.
Absolutely. Okay. So we encourage you to, pull up the website, go through, and, this isn't just from a sales perspective, because this will literally direct you to content that will help you to understand how the products work, and then how to interface with them, and then how to troubleshoot them. So the website is specifically built to walk you through that journey for each individual product, so that you will have success with it and that you will get the performance out of it that you would expect after making the investment in it.
Yeah. So Chris, as an example, this again is just real time. We haven't planned for this. Let's say someone is looking for the soil moisture sensor installation guide. Could we go try to get that?
Okay. So if we go to soil moisture sensor and we learn more, okay, it will take us to, the sensor page that will include all of the different documentation that you would need from, talking about the features, which would be found in the brochures, the specifications, which would be the technical specification that is often needed for the design process, and then also for submittals if you're a contractor, the installation guides and details, as well as how to specify the product, right?
Yep.
So,
and previously on the other website, there wasn't consistency and congruency between different pages. So there was some info on the sensor page, and then there was other info in the resource library, and it wasn't always matching up. So I always get a lot of questions about, I can't find such and such document. And of course, I knew exactly where it was because I knew where it was, but the user sometimes had trouble finding it.
Right.
Yep, definitely. Okay. So again, Meg and her team, they had spent a considerable number of hours in, transitioning and importing information from the previous website into the new format. And with the intent and in mind to make it a more fluid and efficient experience for the users, to get them the information that they need.
So Chris, you said about the previous version of the website, and I wanted to point out that you went to hydropoint.com, and we're at hydropoint.com/baseline. Well, I haven't updated my bookmarks. I still have baselinesystems.com in my bookmarks, but it redirects to this page. So you can either URL will get you there.
Yep, exactly. So if you just go to baselinesystems.com, it's going to take you to the same page, right? And we'll put you into Baseline World within the Hydropoint organization or the whole Hydropoint website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So another thing that we didn't really have the ability to, or time, or insight to share when we first previewed the website a couple of weeks ago. But if we were to consider, the top inquiries that come into support, that information is readily available and easy to find. So if you click on contact and you go to baseline support, it will take you to the specific support page that has the contact information, right, for support, whether dialing in or via email. But these support forms are critical, right? And these previously were, not really that easy to find on the previous website. But the cell service activation form, the app manager account setup form, registering a product with a standard 5-year warranty or extended 10-year warranty, requesting an overlay image for your BaseManager map if needed, team viewer that allows you to download a piece of software that then allows you to share screens with the tech support representative to make that support experience smoother and more efficient. All of those things are found under the support page in the support forms, and accessing that information could save you a lot of time in, trying to get your controller networked and set up, as well as, taking some of the load off of support and the time they'd have to spend in order to support you in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, go through and peruse the site. Meg messaged me and wanted me to point out that if you want to reach out to the marketing team with any suggestions or questions, or if you see anything that needs to be edited or fixed, because it is always in motion, email the marketing team at marketing@hydropoint.com. And that goes both to Meg and Janine, who are our marketing team, and they can address those issues and make it even better and a better experience for you all. Okay. All right. So question came in that we can address by an anonymous attendee. How much baseline technology is shared with the other subsidiaries of Hydropoint? Okay. So from an engineering and a manufacturing perspective, of course, there's going to be shared resources and shared, technologies. The difference is that there are feature sets that are built specifically for each brand, right? And it goes back to that, portfolio-wide application or that engineered solution application for each one of the brands. And there may be shared technology from a hardware perspective behind the board, behind the enclosure itself, i.e., boards and such. But the firmware that actually runs the different platforms and algorithms of the baseline side, there's differences between the two, and that's intentional and will continue.
Yeah, and a good example, Chris, could be, let's just take decoder technology, right? Baseline also manufactures similar decoders for other manufacturers, but other manufacturers don't run the base station 3200, watering engine with our algorithm. So how that piece of hardware works with someone else's system is different than how it works with baseline. And the same thing could be said about soil moisture sensors. Is the measurement itself is just one piece. It's what you do with the data that can be different. And so as we grow as a company, the actual physical piece of hardware has importance, but it may become less important because of the watering algorithms under the hood is what powers it.
That's right. Yep. And that's what allows that particular product to interface with that controller the way that it does, right? It's no secret that we build decoders for other manufacturers. And, those decoders don't work with each other's technologies, right? Because the firmware and the controller platforms are different in that.
That's right.
The way that they see that data.
And they don't act the same either, right? They may be durable and such, but they don't act or perform the same.
Yep. Exactly.
All right. We should move in, Chris. We have enough time to cover the most important part of this episode.
All right.
Good.
So This is new information and new development that just came onto radar for the sales team this week, actually. And we're excited to share it with the world, because this is a capability or a feature that has been asked for quite a long time. And because we continue to innovate and develop our products, as well as engineer to keep them efficient and operational and usable at any given time, we're always adding new features and capabilities to it to make it more powerful and to meet the expectations and or demands that the market requires. So with that being said, we have in development right now a runtime calculator that will help us to understand when we build a program and assign zones to a program with runtimes and adjust concurrency of zone operation and have water windows associated with it. Will my programmed runtime for my set of zones in that program based on my concurrency fit within my water window? And how long is that irrigation cycle going to take for that particular program? So with that, we now have in development a calculated program runtime, where we take in consideration the zones that are assigned to a program, the runtime associated with those zones, the cycle and soak associated with those zones, the current concurrent operation of zones allowed within that program, and the available water window to tell us how long it's going to take that program to run, and will that program fit within the water window that I have available or I have specified to operate within. Okay, so with that, we're going to change up a little bit the order of programming in the schedules tab, where we'll have the general settings and we'll have the zones associated with that program. And then we're going to take in consideration the program concurrent zones, the calculated program runtime, which is going to display here. And then we are going to have an indicator as to whether or not that programmed runtime is going to fit within your water window.
Yeah, and Chris, that's important because the concurrent zones used to be at the bottom, which also means it was often overlooked. Someone would say, where do I set? Because it might be quote unquote below the fold. Like if we were looking at a newspaper, it was down at the bottom. And now that's being moved up to the top. In order to power this capability, we have to make sure the user sees it, programs it, sets it to make this possible.
Absolutely. So in this hypothetical scenario, we've got a program scheduled based on one zone running at a time in this program, a 4-hour and 55-minute runtime. Okay. With a water window that's wide open, meaning I'm allowed to irrigate within all hours of that 24-hour period, this obviously is going to fit, right? So what happens if we start to adjust the water window? With that calculated runtime, it takes into account the calculated program runtime is based on the total number of zone runtimes, soak times, and the number of concurrent zones.
This is also like the cover my ass scenario. So when somebody says it didn't do what I thought it was going to do, this is what it's supposed to do.
That's right. So it doesn't take into account, the frequency of irrigation based on using soil moisture sensors to determine whether or not a runtime is going to happen, right? It's just saying, based on the number of zones in this program, the runtimes associated with those zones, the number of zones that I've got set up to run at the same time, is it going to fit within my water window? If things were just running based on simple math, essentially.
Right.
Right.
But it's not simple. I mean, there's multiple factors in this.
But we can't set it up for something we can't predict that's going to happen.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Exactly. Okay. But this is a helpful tool that will let you know, based on my cycle and soaks and my zone concurrency, how long is that program going to run if it were just to run uninhibited, right? So if the user attempts to create a water window that meets the calculated runtime, we show the available water window times outlined in gray. So in this case, we've got 5 hours available to water. We've got a 4-hour, 55-minute runtime. So yes, we will fit within that water window. If we're outside of those parameters, okay, we start to indicate that it may not be enough.
Right. And this actually example shows we still fit, right? Or is this one that we're
Nope, we still fit in this example. Yeah. It's just that the available water window is, staggered or available in different time segments, right? So Dan, if I've got a program that's running and it's available to water at 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., but it doesn't finish, but I've got water window available for it at 11 a.m. and 12 p.m., what's the behavior going to be?
Oh, I know the answer.
All right, hit me.
The zones that were running when the water window closed turn into a pause state or a waiting state. So as soon as the water window opens back up, then they'll resume right where they left off. So no interruption other than the water window closing.
Right. And then if it doesn't finish here in the 11 to 12 hour, then what happens?
Pauses again, and according to this, it will wrap up in that next block with approximately 5 minutes to spare.
Exactly. Perfect. Well said. I'm glad to see you know how our stuff works. All right. Let's look at a scenario where it won't work. Okay. So Andy, what do we have going on here?
Right. So here what we have are, I can count 4 blue boxes, right? 9, 10, 11, and 12. That's 4 hours to water. And we have 4 hours and 55 minutes available. And so what the engineers have done is said, let's highlight red because the user needs to click another box somewhere to ensure there's enough runtime.
Yep, exactly. Okay.
And that's a dynamic change. So as you're programming and the hours are being calculated, the water window, I believe, is changing, gray or red based on that input.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So there we have it. We've got a runtime calculator that will, help you in determining if you've got enough window open to allow that irrigation cycle to happen within, and then, indicators that will inform you if you need to, adjust so that you will be able to get that watering done within that time frame.
And thank you for the users. We've been pushing hard for this. Appreciate JR for pushing equally as hard or harder. JR, you know who I'm talking about. And this is great capability that supports larger sites. And what we want at Baseline is to support those very large sites. And this is a capability that is more important the larger the site gets.
So the people that have been chomping for this one, what might they expect? Because this isn't quite ready yet.
It's in development, so I would expect that you would see this, by the end of this year.
Okay.
So we haven't been given a release date as of now, but it is actively in development. So I would expect to see it in, next several versions of BaseManager that get rolled out.
Yeah. By the time it gets here, it's out of somebody's head. It's past the pizza paper. It's gone into what engineers call the parking lot. It's been discussed. It's been prioritized. So here it is actually, in the development side. And we wanted to share that with you guys as being, part of the Tech Talk Tuesday community and being here with you. We want to try to share things like this that are going on at Baseline under the hood that maybe you can't find anyplace else.
Neat.
Definitely. All right. So we're at the bottom of our half hour.
Yep.
Blew through that again. Does not take a lot of time. So we appreciate your participation and your attendance and continued interest in Tech Talk Tuesday. And we look forward to being with you again in the future. So
absolutely.
Work hard, be safe, think baseline. And if you've got any questions, by all means, let one of your RSMs know. And we are here to help and assist. So have
Thanks,
a
everyone.
great week.
See you all
See you
next
later.
week. Bye.
Bye.